Welcome to Solutions Studio. This is a free series on C programming language. If you like these videos, please subscribe to follow along with this series. Also, please like and leave a comment and share the video to help spread this series. Hello and welcome to this episode, and in this episode we are discussing the format of a function definition. As you can see, this is the general format for a function definition. We have the return value type, then the function name, then we have the parameters list, then we have the opening braces, we have all of our statements inside the function, and we have the closing braces. A few notes that I want to tell you in this episode is that the function name can be any valid identifier. So here we have the function name, and this function name can be any valid identifier, and we have discussed about identifiers in the previous episodes. So let's go and, as an example, define a function of our own. First, we will have the name of the function that will be a valid identifier. For example, we want to have a function which is finding the cube of a number. Okay, the second point that we want to discuss about is the return type. The return value type is the type of the result returned to the caller. So in here we are going to define that after the function has finished its calculation, what is it going to return and what type of data is it going to return. For example, we are defining that our cube function is going to return an integer. The return value type void indicates that a function does not return a value. So instead of integer, if we had void, that means that the function will not return any value. But in our case, it does return a value, and that is an integer. Now together, the return value type, the function name, and the parameter list, which is basically all of this part, they are sometimes referred to as the function header. So basically, this part in total is called a function header. The parameter list is a comma-separated list that specifies the parameters received by the function when it's called. So as you know, we have the parameter list in here, and in here we are going to define the parameters that this function needs. Basically, parameters are those informations that this function needs to receive to be able to perform its task. For example, for our cube function, we need a number to be given to the cube function so that it calculates the cube of that number. Now in here we are going to define a parameter that the type of the parameter is going to be an integer, and the parameter itself is going to be a number. And in fact, this function could receive more than one parameter. So there could be that we separate these parameters using a comma, and then we define another parameter, for example, a type double. And this double is going to be some other type of value. But for our cube function, we don't really need that. But you need to know that we always use a comma in here to separate the parameters from each other. Now, if a function does not receive any parameters, the parameter list should contain the keyword void. So in here, if we are not giving or providing any value to our cube function, then we have to write void. But no, in our case, we do need to provide a value to the function cube, and that's why we will put our parameter, and that is a variable with its type. As we said in here, each parameter must include its type, otherwise it is a compilation error. So you need to provide the type of the parameter that you want to provide to this function. Placing a semicolon after the parameters list right parentheses in a function definition is an error. For example, if you put a semicolon in here, this is going to be an error, and in fact you have to put braces and not semicolon. Also, we want to discuss about the fact that redefining a parameter as a local variable in a function is not incorrect, but we do not recommend it because it creates ambiguity. For example, we have this parameter called number in here, and in fact we can create another variable inside of the function that will be of, for example, type double, and or even it could be an integer as well, and it has a name number. Now this number is going to be different from this number. This is a parameter and this is another variable, but we do not recommend this, and it's not recommended to do this because it will create confusion and ambiguity for the program. So instead of a number, change this variable name into something else that could be more specific, and it could be different from this parameter name. Now the statements within braces form the function body, which is also called a block. These statements that we have inside of this braces, one opening braces and one closing braces, this is called the body of the function, and it is also called a block of code. Functions cannot be nested, and defining a function inside another function is a syntax error. So basically that means that inside the cube function I cannot create another function in here, and it has to be outside of this function. And that's it for this episode. I hope this has been helpful and informative for you, and I would like to see you in the coming episodes.